not condone a course of action that will lead us to war.
A communications disruption can mean only one thing. Invasion.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge. Begin landing your troops. We haven't much time.
The Federation has gone too far.
The death toll is catastrophic.
Our people are dying, Senator. We must do something quickly.
You must contact me.
There is something else behind all this, Your Highness. They will kill you if you stay. I can only protect you. I can't fight a war for you.
I think we're going to have to accept Federation control for the time being.
This is a battle I do not think that we can win.
I will sign no treaty, Senator.
You said people gonna die?
Once those droids take control of the surface, they will take control of you.
I was not elected to watch my people suffer and die while you discuss this invasion in a committee. Get to your ships!
They will never get me onto one of those dreadful starships.
Always two there are. A master and an apprentice. Wipe them out. All of them.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back to
what
the
a
show.
very special episode.
That trailer's like...
It's a pretty epic trailer.
Goodness. Right, it all came rushing back to me.
Yeah.
Listening to that. I'm very excited for it.
Good movie to close out our summer lineup, too.
Yeah, right? I feel like we're getting into...
It's kind of like the blockbuster to end all blockbusters.
Oh, goodness. Well, everybody out there listening, all of our wonderful podcast listeners, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay. Coming to you in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh, my goodness. Break that down for a minute. Just think about that whole opening line. But, Scott, I mean, clearly... It's our very first Star Wars episode, but why don't you introduce our guest and we can get started talking about this movie.
We are talking with friend of the pod, Nick Romero. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to the show.
I always knew that we were going to eventually do a Star Wars episode because Pete and I are a bunch of fucking nerds, and of course, we love Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you had, messaged quite a while ago, maybe even a year ago, of if you ever want to do Episode 1, let me know. And I'm just like, I'm just going to file that away. So we finally got to it. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, directed by George Lucas, released May 19th, 1999. Pete, this is the 9th movie from 99 that we've done.
Wow. How about that?
And we're going to be doing another one next week.
Oh,
and that will be 10.
Very cool, very cool. A lot of good movies came out that year. You two were probably just... young, small children.
I was going
about.
into the 8th grade when this movie came out.
Okay.
I was 2 when this movie came out.
Oh, my goodness.
I was finishing up junior high, or my 7th grade year, and I just remember this movie just being the biggest thing of all time.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we have to. I'm very interested, Nick, to talk to you about kind of somebody who grew up with the prequel trilogy as kind of like their baseline introduction to Star Wars, right? Would you consider that to be true, or do you think you kind of watched all of them, like the earlier ones first, or how did that go for you?
So I definitely started with the earlier ones first.
Okay.
I think I had to have been around 4 or 5 when I saw A New Hope. My godmother showed it to me. We watched a VHS set.
Love it.
So, was super excited about it. Loved Darth Vader right away. Let's see. Following that, I think I immediately went into Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I don't remember that trailer, so listening to that with you guys, the first time I've heard it. but it sounded definitely really epic.
Yeah, the thing was like, okay.
I remember just the buzz behind this teaser coming out was a big deal.
Well, yeah, because I mean, for people that are not super in the know with Star Wars, the first movie came out in 1977, A New Hope, and it was followed by The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But Star Wars: A New Hope is actually Episode 4, right, in the list. So like all through the 80s, everybody was like, what the heck? Where's episodes 1, 2, and 3? What's going on? Like, why did this start in the middle? And here we go, in 1998. Did I get that wrong?
Well, I remember in 97 when the special editions of the original trilogy came out because they added new effects, they remastered them, they put them all back in the theater.
Yeah.
I personally saw A New Hope and Empire in the theater for the first time during those re-releases.
Yes.
So I actually saw them in the theater.
Yeah.
And I remember that it was already, the prequels were already announced when those movies were coming up too. And I think that these movies, the Episode 1 shot summer of 97.
Sure. But so this trailer, right? This trailer comes out, and we don't know anything about what's going to happen in the prequel movies. All we know is that it takes place before Star Wars, and in A New Hope, all we know about the Jedi is that Darth Vader killed them all, and the only Jedi that's left is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he's going to train Luke Skywalker. And they tried to goop us in this trailer with Palpatine saying, "Wipe them out."
Yeah.
All of them. And so you're like, oh shit, he's already talking about like killing all the Jedi in Episode 1. What the hell? They threw us so many like fake outs just in the trailer alone, right? And then the movie came out. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of general public
we'll get into it.
of it. But so since you kind of grew up on Episode 1, did you kind of feel like there was a big difference between the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy?
So the first thing I can remember, or my first thought of the prequel trilogy, is everything looks so brand new and shiny. I'm so used to A New Hope looking, old and desolate, being on Tatooine, kind of run down. So the first thing I noticed is, wow, this is beautiful. The Senate looks great. Naboo looks great. I want to know what happened, between Phantom Menace and A New Hope to kind of lead it down that path of like destruction. Yeah,
totally. And did you end up watching like Clone Wars, like the animated series and all those things? Because I did. I kind of watch all of it. So
like I'm a huge Star Wars fan, like a big Star Wars nerd. But I will admit that I didn't start watching Clone Wars until like 2019.
Sure.
My fiance got me into it, that and Rebels.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys seen Rebels yet.
Love Rebels, yeah.
Yeah, love Rebels, love Ahsoka. Fulcrum, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I understand when people say that they haven't fully got into Clone Wars, especially because it's 6 seasons. It originally started It originally started on Cartoon Network back in the day. So there's like 20 something episodes a season. It's a lot of content, right? And it can get a little deep into like the mythology and all that. But like you said, it introduces Ahsoka, who's this like amazing character. She's so great. Star Wars is kind of known for not having, female characters. There's like 3, like in all. You can like count on one hand. Like it's not even good female characters. It's just female characters. Period. Right.
Yeah.
And Clone Wars comes in and they introduce Ahsoka Tano as this like really great, Jedi Padawan learner, and she's just so amazing. You kind of go through her whole journey. And then Rebels, which takes place in between episodes 3 and 4, I feel like. It's kind of another take. The visuals start to kind of blur the lines between the prequel and the original trilogy, like visually, like you said, with that like clean sci-fi look of the prequels where everything's so shiny and chrome and beautiful, to George Lucas's original vision of this lived-in sci-fi world, right? And that's what so many people love about the original trilogy is this lived-in look. It just looks like it's a real. These are real ships that people live on, and Han Solo is like just like this cool dude, like just living his life, like being a scoundrel,
space cowboy.
Yeah, and then Phantom Menace comes around, and it's like it's beautiful and shiny and stark, and Queen Amidala is just like so. I don't know, not dramatic, but she's just so...
she's so drag.
she's very drag. I mean, she's got lovely gowns.
Lovely gowns.
Her gowns, and can we talk about her voice?
Loves a good stunt, puts on a full character.
This chick is doing a full... She's got the voice, like she does a different accent when she's like got the makeup on.
You'll not be so pleased when you hear what I have to say, Viceroy. Your trade boycott of our planet has ended.
I was not aware of such failure?
I have heard that the Chancellor's ambassadors are with you now, and that you have been commanded to reach a settlement.
I know nothing of any ambassadors. You must be mistaken.
Beware, Viceroy.
I mean,
so I remember when Pepsi had all of the cans, and I remember seeing Padme's can and then Amidala's can.
Oh, yeah.
And just being like, so this is both Natalie Portman. And then just immediately being like, what?
Yeah. And not getting it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's another thing. You know, like living through it and remembering all that. They tried to goop us with this whole like Padme / Amidala dual character thing. And even, I feel like even watching it in the theater, I remember just going like, what? Like kind of not getting the whole like I don't know. I think they made more of a big deal out of it with things like keeping it a secret and the different like Pepsi cans and the different action figures and things like that because there were Padme action figures of her as a like not a slave girl, but
it's like what she goes to like around Tatooine with.
Yeah, that outfit where she meets Anakin, and then obviously like full drag Padme.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember just being fascinated with the look of Amidala and all these costumes that you were seeing in the ad campaign and just being so excited to see it. I want to get into, before we get too far into the discussion, when did you first watch episode 1? Do you remember what theater you were? Do you remember who you were with?
Okay. So me personally, as I am the resident old person here, I saw this in the theater with my good friend Damien, and we were trying to get tickets for opening night, and it was sold out all over town, and we found a theater that had tickets for a 1 a.m. showing.
Did you guys discuss ever to go camp out on Hollywood Boulevard?
Hell no. We were not going to go camp out on Hollywood Boulevard. We were excited to see it, but we were like, no, we were too cool for
Pete,
that.
do you remember when we were just at at Mann's Chinese Theater seeing some movie? I think that we were seeing Fences for like a press screening, Rogue One was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just like, what are you all doing here? Like, you're still camping out for these movies.
Like, you don't have to do that anymore.
Like, you don't have to do this anymore. And it's like a big thing.
Yeah.
Like big groups of people go to Hollywood Boulevard at Mann's Chinese and they camp out for every movie. Regardless of
choosing your seat ahead of time and not having to do the lineups anymore. Would you ever line up for a Star Wars movie?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've lined up for movies before, but it was like Transformers or Iron Man.
Okay.
But camping out overnight's pretty hardcore.
That is hardcore. And again, I do remember, watching on the news, and we're here in LA, and we talk about that a lot, and I do remember, news stories about people camping out in front of the Chinese theater for days and weeks and all that, and just being like, I'm stoked for this, but we'll go when we go. Although I do have to say, we did see a 1 o'clock showing because we just didn't want to wait till the next day. We were like, it's Friday night, we're already out. We'll just wait. We'll just see we'll just hang out, see the 1 o'clock showing, and get out at 3:30 or whatever ungodly time it was when we got out. And I have to say that me and my best friend Damien, when we saw this movie, we walked out, and I think we were just trying to convince ourselves that it was the best thing that we had ever seen. And I think that we were just like, yeah, it was great. It was so cool.
Just kind of shell-shocked by the whole experience.
Yeah, because it was so different, you know? And I think now with all the extra Star Wars content that there is, like Clone Wars and Rebels and movies like Rogue One and all of that, there's a lot more of a rounded view of this universe. But at the time,
you only had 3 movies.
All we had was the original movies, and this was so different. You know, the next couple of days, we were just like, well, that wasn't very Star Wars, and this ship wasn't very Star Wars. But all leading up to it, you know, we had this this mystique around it. And I also specifically remember trying to download the trailer online to watch it at home, right? And this was in the days of dial-up.
Oh, you gotta wait a while,
bitch. We waited like almost 2 hours, and it was so choppy, like we could hardly see anything. And I'll never forget it. It was me and Damon and our friend Mike Angelina, and we were in Mike's apartment, and it was downloading, and you know, just us 3 idiots, just like drinking beers,
crowded around a computer,
crowded around this like CRT big ass monitor, you know. And just getting so excited for this like patchy, herky jerky like video that we saw. We couldn't make out anything, but we were just like, yeah, it's so cool. And I mean, those are the days when you really had to, you know, go to the movies to see a trailer, you know. And we did not buy tickets to see Wing Commander, starring Freddie Prinze Jr. just to see the Phantom Menace trailer.
And that was a big deal, is that people bought tickets to that terrible movie and then walked out right after the trailers.
I read the same thing and I couldn't believe that.
I mean, this Freddie Prinze Jr., Matthew Lillard masterpiece, Wing Commander, based on a PC video game, which was garbage to begin with. Sorry, Wing Commander fans out there. But people, and I specifically remember that happening, and yeah, it's interesting because the friends that I was with at the time were big movie fans, just big movie fans in general, and they've kind of ended up a little bit in the entertainment industry, and so it's just interesting that the 3 or 4 of us were just kind of there. Like,
one of them actually produces movie trailers now.
Yes, and so yeah, it was just interesting that just being us there, like 18, 19, and being so excited for it, and just like going out and buying the Vanity Fair. Like, they still do Vanity Fair. Every Star Wars movie has a Vanity Fair issue with these like beautiful photo shoots showing off all the like the costumes and the fashion and all that. And it was Annie Leibovitz shot, and just seeing again all the stuff with Amidala. And my guy friends at the time, you know, I was out to them for sure at that age, but it was definitely a time in my life when I wasn't kind of like overtly, you know, I was just kind of going with the flow. They knew what they knew, and they were chill and whatever. But you know, it was the 90s, and I was still very much like, all right, dudes, whatever.
You were like, work, bitch.
No,
look at these photos.
You know, and you couldn't, because it was a different time. There was no Drag Race, whatever. So for me, I was just like, yeah, let's go to the whatever, you know, shitty straight bar and hang out with because I wanted to hang out with the guys, and I had a great time doing it. But I was so interested in Natalie Portman and this character and all that, and I had already had a huge crush on Ewan McGregor, and I was so excited for Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I mean, here we are 20 how many years later,
still can hit it.
Ewan McGregor, oh my god, still can hit it. Shit.
Yeah, I took notes. First note, it says Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson. So
yeah. Oh my god.
Perfect daddy and son couple.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I don't sense anything.
It's not about the mission, Master. It's something elsewhere. Elusive.
Don't center on your anxieties, Obi-Wan. Keep your concentration here and now, where it belongs.
But Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future.
But not at the expense of the moment. Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
Yes, Master.
By the way, your notes, these handwritten notes, I'm loving this penmanship.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
Well, do you want to hear? Okay, so I remember. Well, I was trying to think last night when I first watched this trailer because I'm positive I did not stream this trailer. I would have had to have seen it in the theater. Okay. And I'm trying to think. Okay, like what was I doing? This trailer probably would have come out February, March. I think Wing Commander was like an early release movie in like February.
Oh, I don't know. You're good at all that stuff.
I think that I would have had to have seen this attached to either Forces of Nature with Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock, or 10 Things I Hate About You.
Okay, yeah.
So like, and that would attract of like those probably would have been on those reels for those two movies.
Yeah.
But I think that I had to wait until like June or maybe even July to see this movie because I'm from a small town. We did not get this movie right away just because we only have one movie screen. And, I mean, that's just really not how theater distribution works. Like, you don't always get brand new movies when you live in a small town. So I had to watch this movie when I was traveling to Southern California with my family, and I'm pretty sure that I saw this movie at the Ontario Mills Mall.
Sure.
I'm kind of like a weird Rain Man when it comes to what movie theater I saw what movie in. I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
But it's just like the blur of Southern California, but then when I kind of put the pieces together in my mind, there was a giant mall attached to it.
Yeah.
And it would have probably have been the Ontario Mills Mall.
Okay. Work.
Yeah.
Give it up for the Inland Empire.
So, yeah, I saw this movie probably at about a month and a half. And just imagine me being like 13 years old and seeing all of the ad campaign for this movie. We were just watching the MTV News special on this movie, which I definitely remember watching.
Yeah.
But just having to wait.
Yeah.
That I couldn't immediately go see it.
Yeah.
And we lived like 100 miles away from like a multiplex.
Yeah.
And my parents weren't going to drive me for the day.
I'm surprised
so
the
I had to
Lewistown
wait.
Theater wasn't just like trying to make that money and just put it in their on their one screen. It would have made money there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is this a movie that you revisit very often, Nick? Because we sure as hell do. We watch.
Yes, we do.
No, I definitely do.
Okay.
So when I met my fiance, again, boyfriend at the time, I kind of go into a little bit of a story. So we met at a movie theater. We went and saw Spider-Man Far From Home. And as we were walking out of the theater, we'd realized we'd parked right next to each other. And same car and everything, same Honda Civic hatchback.
Oh, wow.
But he had 2 Star Wars stickers on his car. One that said "Support the Troops," and it had a bunch of stormtroopers on it. And then an Imperial logo. And that kind of like sparked our conversation. And it kind of sparked our relationship and then my love for Star Wars again. So I kind of put it down for a few years. But meeting him, we kind of got back into it really heavy. And next thing you know, we're watching the trilogy like 3 or 4 times a year.
Nice.
Well, I say trilogy, all 3 trilogies, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely revisit this one a lot. Mostly because of Darth Maul. Of course, Queen Amidala.
Yeah.
Love those characters.
The Darth Maul scenes are so fucking rad.
They're cool. They
movie.
hold up. Those
up.
Lightsaber fights are amazing. I love that you guys watch them a lot because it's that thing when, especially when the sequel trilogy, Force Awakens and Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, when those were coming out, I would often hear from, coworkers or whatever, like, I'm going to rent like the old Star Wars movies to like get ready for the new one. I'm like, that's cute.
We're going to marathon them this weekend.
Yeah, we're going to watch all 3.
Meanwhile, they're just on rotation in our household.
That's cute.
Yeah, casually.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have the DVDs anymore. You
don't even have episode 1 in this?
I have episode 1, 2, and 3 on DVD.
Okay.
But my original trilogy DVDs I gave to my godson a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. That has the best doc on it too. That has Empire of Dreams.
Yes, but it's all on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
So we can watch it all in 4K on Disney Plus. But I love that you rewatch them because we definitely. And Phantom Menace is one that's just so like the story is convoluted. Kind of.
I mean, you know what kids love is a good like Senate scene.
Talking about
trade embargoes,
tariff taxations, and all of that,
and votes of no confidence.
Exactly. But at the same time, it is kind of an easy watch.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit about Jar Jar Binks. I'm not like here to like denounce like that character. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Justice for Jar Jar.
I kind of think. Yeah, just the whole like Jar Jar fallout, which we don't have to get too into because I really don't want to rehash all of that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that like I don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
I think there was a time when I was in high school that I pretended like I was too cool for episode 1.
Yeah.
When you started to see the fallout of all of these movies.
Uh-huh.
And I remember not really liking episodes 2 and 3 at the time that I saw them in the theater. But it's one of those things that after the sequel trilogy, when I revisit the prequel movies, I find them very charming.
Yeah. Well, there's another thing, too. I follow a lot of Star Wars like meme accounts on Instagram. Do you follow any of those?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because he doesn't. And so like every now and then I'll send him something and I'm like, dude, the prequel trilogy, like they're huge.
There's a lot of material there.
There's so much love for Hayden Christensen. There's like all these like really funny like Jar Jar. Like there's so many Star Wars meme accounts and they're great.
I think my favorite one is Jar Jar being like the start of the Empire.
Oh,
he obviously gave Palpatine, some extra power.
Yes. Yeah, he inadvertently kind of like started all this shit with his like. I think did he do a vote of no confidence? No, he did the emergency powers. Yeah,
he did. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, there's it's crazy how there's like this new life that's come into, because coming from seeing them originally in theaters, like we were saying. There was that backlash initially of that they're not Star Wars, they're totally different. George Lucas had too much power. There's those famous YouTube videos, Red Letter Media.
Yeah, and he kind of dissects all of the movies in like an hour video or something.
Are you familiar with these Red Letter Media videos?
I'm not.
Okay, this YouTuber, and this is very early days of YouTube, like very early days of YouTube. He dissected the original trilogy and I think that his videos all combined were longer than the movies themselves. Like his video on episode 1 is like 2.5 hours long, and he makes some valid points, but I think if we were to watch them now, they would be a little dated. And I think the fans have kind of come back around and kind of embraced the prequels as just being fun. I mean, it's Star Wars. It's not supposed to be anything.
They're fun, and it's George Lucas clearly trying something different. And kind of some of the main criticisms for the sequel trilogy is that they are just rehashing the first 3 movies in all of them. That the prequels really tried to do something new in each movie.
Yeah. What is your take on, Rise of Skywalker and Rey and all of that?
So I'm not a fan of the sequel trilogy whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
I think that they're good watches in the moment when you're sitting in the theater, but then like you buy the 4K disc and you put it in and you're like, this is garbage, mama. Rise of Skywalker, borderline unwatchable when we got it in 4K.
Yeah, I think the only reason I watched Rise of Skywalker is to see Palpatine.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And like, Rey is like... It's great to make the protagonist female. Like I said, there's a lack of female characters in Star Wars, and it's great. But I feel like she's just too damn powerful.
Yeah.
Well, too powerful and has hardly any character development.
Yeah.
So I mean, she's an expert pilot right away.
She's just perfect.
Perfect with the Force, a lightsaber. I'm like, there's no internal struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 seconds in Rise of Skywalker, we see Darth Rey, and that's really it.
Yeah. Totally. And, I don't know if it's like... I don't know if it's shade or what, but there are 2 instances in The Mandalorian where the only 2 Jedi characters, Ahsoka and Luke, referring to Grogu, to Baby Yoda, and saying that, yes, he's powerful, but without training, that power means nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, was that a read?
It might be.
It might be. Because I feel like Dave Filoni, who's the showrunner for, The Mandalorian as well as Clone Wars, I feel like he's that guy. Like, I feel like he's the one that's going to be like, you know what? These last movies,
we made some mistakes.
Yeah, these last 3 were a mess. So I'm gonna kind of call that shit out.
So what do you think about the controversy with Rose Tico?
What is this? I'm not familiar.
Rose Tico. She's
sure.
Kelly
Yeah.
Marie Tran.
Sure, yeah.
You know, while her character is kind of crazy, and the character alone is, I don't know.
That subplot of The Last Jedi kind of drives me nuts.
It sucks, you know? It's just, she's just in there trying to, like, play this role, and I feel like, you know...
She was kind of just set up for failure going into it.
Yeah. And I also think that, you know, fandoms, any kind of fandom, you know, but these really hardcore niche fandoms, you know, be it Star Wars, The Simpsons, RuPaul's Drag Race, it can turn into this toxic thing where these people just go too far, you know, with these opinions. And I think, while the character of Rose may not be my favorite character, I feel like the kind of shit that Kelly Marie Tran, the person, got was a little crazy, right?
Yeah, a little bit excessive.
Yeah, a little bit excessive. And it's like, is it all misogynist because she's a woman? Quite possibly.
Yeah.
You know, is it racist because she's Asian? Almost definitely, you know? So it's hard, and it's hard to see a fandom of something that you really like go in this direction. You know, I had problems with that, you know, when it was first happening. But, you know, the Star Wars fandom did it to Jake Lloyd, you know, It did it to Hayden Christensen, did it to Kelly Marie Tran, Ray, the actress,
Daisy Ridley.
Daisy Ridley.
I think that she ended up deleting her Instagram account.
She deleted her social medias for a while. It was not to the extent of, you know, with Rose, but she deleted her social media. You know, it's like, it's done that to a lot of people involved with it. And it sucks when it goes there, when it's a fandom that you're like, you know, a part of, you know, but it's just like, I don't know. What did you think of all that?
The Star Wars fandom, like you said, they're really extreme, right? I mean, you have any fandom, you're gonna have the fans that are gonna love everything that the series or the franchise puts out, and you're gonna have fans that are like, they're gonna hate anything new, essentially.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I felt bad for both of them. I wasn't a big fan of Rey, but I don't think she deserved half the backlash she received.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's especially when, for the actors, it's like they're coming in, they're taking a role, it's Star Wars, it's given to them, and it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to do it. And when you get locked into 3 movies like she did, it's like the character's going to go in a certain direction.
And I think that kind of, like John Boyega, I think that when John was cast in Force Awakens, I think that he was probably sold something very different than what kind of became of that character.
Yeah.
And I think that he said that in interviews, too.
I was really hoping he'd play a bigger role in the franchise.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like they hinted at things for his character to go in a certain way, and it's like, is he Force sensitive? Kind of, maybe, but then he never gets to even say it out loud. It's like, what? So, yeah, I think there's a lot of wasted opportunities with John Boyega. And then it's like, it comes out that, you know, that Oscar Isaac's character, that Poe Dameron, was originally supposed to die in the first movie, but they just really liked Oscar Isaac, so they kept him in. But it was like,
but what did they do with that character in the other 2 movies?
Yeah. But Poe Dameron is just such a weird kind of throwaway character.
Yeah, I felt he was kind of wasted in the second one. Oh gosh, The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But you know, we can talk all day about our problems with the sequel.
Let's get into the casting of
That's
Ewan.
another show.
Yeah,
let's get into the casting of Ewan and Liam.
Ewan McGregor and Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's please talk about
I remember when I'm pretty sure that I was familiar with Ewan McGregor going into this movie, just because I think that I don't know if I would have seen Trainspotting, but I think I was familiar with it as a movie. And I think that he had done some other big crossover movies in America. But I remember Liam Neeson. I specifically remember flipping through my dad's Playboy. Just because my dad got Playboy, I grew up reading the articles, the celebrity interviews, reading all the movie reviews,
looking at them titties,
looking at those boobies. Like, I loved the Playmate Q&A. Like, when you fold it out. Like, I grew up reading Playboy, and I remember.
So you were reading it for the articles.
I was reading it for everything: the jokes, the articles, like to look at the gorgeous women. But I remember they did a profile of Liam Neeson. Right when the casting was announced in '98, and I remember the picture that they got of Liam Neeson made me so horny as a kid. I'm just like, oh my God. It is a picture of him lying. He is lying on this rock with this denim shirt, and he's not wearing pants.
Okay.
Yeah. And I found the picture.
Yes, you did.
When we were watching it the other day, and I'll post it on Instagram.
It looks like he's wearing briefs, but the way his legs are positioned,
but he doesn't look like he's wearing any underwear.
Yeah, it looks. His legs are positioned in such a way that it looks like he's just wearing an open shirt and nothing else. But yeah, just like. Well, I mean, let me tell you this much: before Phantom Menace came out, Ewan McGregor had been in not only Velvet Goldmine, but also Trainspotting, and you see his dick in both
of them. Yeah.
Oh my God, we're talking about dick now, Mom. If you're listening, I am so sorry.
But yeah,
it's just Ewan McGregor.
That picture of Liam Neeson just did it for me. Like I just thought he was like, who is this daddy? As I was like 12 years old.
Okay, Ewan McGregor, he's a very handsome man. He's Irish. He's like 6'4". You know, he's like a big dude. And
Ewan McGregor or
I'm sorry, Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson. Had Schindler's List come out?
Schindler's List came out in 94.
So yeah, so Ewan McGregor, or so Liam Neeson, to me, Liam Neeson was this like prestige actor, right? He was this like
Rob Roy.
Yeah.
Had come out a few years before this.
But also definitely very handsome. I remember him from this movie in the 80s. It's an 80s movie called High Spirits, and he plays a ghost in High Spirits.
I thought you were going to say Krull.
Well,
he's also in Krull.
He's also in Krull, which is a sci-fi movie from the 80s. And he gets to use his Irish accent in both of those movies. And he's just like... just this big, imposing guy, and he's got this Irish accent, very sexy. Ewan McGregor, like I said... had a lot of indie cred. I knew him from I saw Trainspotting. My friends and I were very into Trainspotting. We're very into Velvet Goldmine because the music in Velvet Goldmine is amazing. Just all this glam rock, 70s music in Velvet Goldmine. And I just thought that he was just super cute. Ewan McGregor is Scottish, so he's got this really cool accent.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just a really smart move to have him play Obi-Wan Kenobi, and all we knew of this character is Alec Guinness, this like older man.
And Ewan can pass as a young Alex Guinness too.
He does the voice really well.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's funny because going back to the Star Wars memes, there's a lot of memes going on about like the 20 years passing between certain characters, and it goes from Ewan McGregor to Alec Guinness. He just turns into this old man. Where Jimmy Smits, who plays Princess Leia's stepfather.
Yeah, from Alderaan.
Yes.
Bail Organa.
Bail Organa. Yes, he is in Rogue One, which takes place like 5 minutes before, before New Hope, and it's the same actor from from Revenge of the Sith. And Rogue One, so he hasn't really aged that much. He just has a couple of bags under his eyes. But then Ewan McGregor goes to like boom, Alec Guinness in one movie. We'll see. I mean, I'm excited for this Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think it's going to be rad.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Ewan McGregor, again, great actor.
Yeah.
My first interaction with him, I guess, it is the Star Wars movies. But I recently just watched him in Halston. So when I was doing the rewatch this movie, all I could think about is Halston.
Just doing that voice.
Also, Ewan McGregor has played gay like 4 times.
He really has, especially in Birds of Prey.
Yes.
He's really good in Birds of Prey.
Yeah. Super hot.
I Love You, Philip Morris. What's the other one, too?
Philip Morris.
With Jim Carrey, yeah. And we'll have to go back and look through it. I think his character is bisexual in Velvet Goldmine.
Yeah,
I think he definitely makes out with Christian Bale in Velvet Goldmine.
Nick, FYI, I sent you the pictures that I found of Liam Neeson,
and I just saw those
from Playboy. Yeah,
very spicy.
Yep.
So I'm glad you mentioned Schindler's List because obviously Spielberg was working on Jurassic Park right before that.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking, Scott, we were talking about movies that made us.
Yeah.
And the new season, Jurassic Park being one of the episodes.
Yeah.
Spielberg having to leave that movie early to go work on Schindler's List. And George Lucas went to work on Jurassic Park.
Shot back to
which
back.
Kind of gave him,
That's insane.
Yeah, and it gave him the idea to do Phantom Menace.
That's so crazy. I feel like Oh, it's not in Phantom Menace. It's actually in the special edition of New Hope when they ride up to Tatooine and they extended the drive into Tatooine in New Hope.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they added all that big Ronto. There's a big Ronto that's like a big giant dinosaur looking thing, and it's the model for the Brachiosaurus in Jurassic
interesting.
Park.
Okay.
That they just kind of like squished and stretched and like reconnoitered.
Sure.
And turned it into
and he even
the
like
Ronto.
jumps up on his hind legs too.
Oh, that's right. With the little dink. What are they called?
Oh,
from Spaceballs.
That's a Spaceballs reference.
Are you familiar? Have you seen Spaceballs, Mel Brooks?
I've seen it one time.
Okay.
I'm not a fan.
I mean, that's the thing. If you did not watch Spaceballs when you were like 8 years old,
I don't know how that movie would go go down
yeah.
as an adult if you were watching it.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
It is.
So I get it not being a favorite if you're introduced to it as an adult. But the Jawas, yeah. So yeah, that's so wild about just like I can't imagine the conversations that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg just kind of like
randomly bouncing ideas off each other.
Like what are they texting each other? Just like, hey, did you watch White Lotus? Like I don't know. Like what are they?
Like what are the conversations?
What are they talking
I mean,
about?
I like to think that it's a big group text of Spielberg.
They got
Lucas.
Robert Zemeckis in there.
Well, no, not Robert Zemeckis because he didn't sort of come up with them in the 70s. It would have been Spielberg, Lucas, Coppola,
yeah,
Scorsese, yeah. I want to be in on that like WhatsApp chain.
Coppola doesn't know how to text on a smartphone.
He doesn't know how to use a smartphone.
No. Scorsese either. It's just like all like misspellings and random nonsense.
Scorsese has someone to text for him.
Absolutely. He just does like voice to text and it just comes out all garbled. But yeah, I'm very interested in this conversation. But yeah, Liam Neeson was, like I said, prestige actor coming off Schindler's List. Ewan McGregor was very like hot shit at the time. Mm-hmm. Trainspotting was very edgy. Velvet Goldmine also very independent movie darling. Ewan McGregor.
And you know who was very close to being Obi-Wan was, I was reading Joseph Fiennes.
Oh,
was
yes.
more or less cast, and then they let him go.
In my book, The Art of Star Wars, all of the Obi-Wan Kenobi drawings are Joseph Fiennes' face.
Yeah. So at least
Crazy.
made it to pre-production with the concept art.
Yes. And then also Natalie Portman, I feel like coming off of The Professional.
Coming off the Professional, Beautiful Girls. I remember her being a big deal in that movie.
Yeah, she's this child actor with this face. Like, get out of here!
A really good range.
Congratulations
too.
on that face. But yeah, she, she got such great, glowing reviews for The Professional and even Beautiful Girls. They kind of scooped her up. So these three leads are just kind of the hottest thing in Hollywood at this time.
Thinking about Natalie Portman, though, I saw Lee on The Professional probably like 10 years ago. So I was in high school. And I couldn't believe that was done before Star Wars. So looking at her acting in that and seeing her in Phantom Menace, I was like, Phantom Menace is easy compared to Lee on The Professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why, I kind of know some people who kind of have a little bit of attitude about her. And they're just like, oh, Natalie Portman, she's not a great actress, whatever. And I think they're basing it off of like Phantom Menace, really. And it's like, but did you see like
Phantom Menace and like Attack of the Clones? Because I know that some of those scenes with Hayden are a little choppy,
a little clunky.
Yeah,
but I love it anyway.
But yeah, but George Lucas really doesn't have a reputation of being really good with actors. Like he's a very visual director. Do you know what's also wild that I have to remind myself? Phantom Menace was his directorial follow-up from A New Hope. He had not directed a movie since 1977.
Wow.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Like, you just assume that there has to be something in there, but no, he just produced everything.
Yeah, he didn't direct the other two. Wow, that's amazing.
But just had his hands in, like, everything from, like, Willow to producing for television.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Huh. Well, I mean, yeah, and I feel like some of the problems that people have with the prequels is the acting, right? But I think any of the problems that you have with acting kind of comes from the script. It's a dense world that he's building. There's a lot going on, And I always have to bring it back to the Clone Wars. I'm like, when you watch the Clone Wars, you really see like this whole world. Like it makes so much more sense. But we should talk about Jar Jar Binks.
Well, I was going to say either Jar Jar Binks or a little bit about Anakin.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about.
I feel
Jake,
like when you
Lloyd.
revisit this movie and Jake Lloyd's like very cutesy child performance, is because it's like Jake Lloyd was like a child actor. He had been on Hook the Stars with Marissa Tomei and Jenna Rollins right before this movie. So I mean, he was just sort of this commercial child actor. So you really can't blame him for being overly cutesy. But I think that when you revisit this movie and you really think, man, they should have cast someone around Natalie's age for this role.
Yes.
I think that it would have gone down so... I think that it would have been different and better for the material if they would have matched Natalie with someone her age.
I think Natalie was 16 when she was filming, and he was like 8.
Now, okay, granted, Amidala is supposed to be 14 in the
elected Queen of Naboo. I have a lot of questions about that.
I mean, we won't even we can touch that, but just for all intents and purposes, her character is 14 and his character is, I want to say, 10 or maybe 9. I think his character is 9. So there's a 5-year age gap. But actually, there's quite a larger age gap between the actors. I have this in my VHS copy that I bought of the Phantom Menace. I got like this deluxe special edition job, and it came with a book with like concept drawings, and all the concept drawings for Anakin. He looked like 13 or 14 years old. He looked like he was that age. But then, when you see all the kids that read for it in Empire of Dreams,
Michael Argolano,
no,
right? No,
Michael Angarano from Will and Grace.
Yeah, wasn't he pretty close to being Anakin?
Yes, but yeah, they were all around this really young. They were all around like 8 or 9 years old. So I don't know what the decision was to make their age gap. So why?
Do you think that it was just kind of Lucas knowing, like, this is a kid's movie, I'm going to put the kid as mini Darth Vader? Just sort of like, it has to be a child.
Yeah, to make the younger the better.
Mm-hmm.
I think there would have been a total tone switch if he was a little bit older.
Yeah.
I think it's a tone switch that I think would be in service of the material a little better, in my opinion.
And maybe he just kind of thought, like, well, by the time we get to the next movie, we're gonna jump ahead 10 years.
Sure, we're gonna change actors.
At that point, it won't even be noticeable anymore, and it's not really. Like by the time Hayden comes in, it's like, okay, they're both, teenagers or whatever. But I think at that point, it's a 10-year jump. So she's supposed to be 24, and he's supposed to be 19.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
With some of my straight coworkers at TJ's, we quote Anakin lines a lot. Whenever we get to leave early, say like "Yippee," or just randomly ask each other, "Are you an angel?"
Oh man,
does that line work? I have that written down. I'm like, does that line work?
No, it does not work.
And it's just like, God bless Jake Lloyd, but just that cutesy child delivery of, "Are you an angel?"
Yeah. I don't know. I know that they try to tie in like characters and things in the expanded universe, and there is an episode of Clone Wars where they're on a planet and this alien lady looks like an angel. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they named the planet from what he said, but I don't know what. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But and then her performance against him is so weird too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like her delivery when she says lines against Jake Lloyd is very much like, it feels like she's talking to a very small child.
She's waiting for him to sort of catch up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like maternal.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Those scenes of Natalie when they get off the ship and they're walking towards what's the town in Tatooine?
Well, it's actually not Mos Eisley.
It's not Mos Eisley. Okay,
it's Mos Espa.
Mos Espa.
That's like some deep cut.
But
shit
just
right there.
Those shots of Natalie when she's standing next to Liam, and Natalie look so miserable. Because you can tell, like, oh, they shot this in Tunisia, and it is probably 120. And just what Natalie is wearing, she's wearing all this makeup, and you could tell the look on Natalie's face is that she's just like, oh my God.
Just like, get me out of here.
Get me out of here. Like, I hope this take is like short.
Well, she's also wearing like a knitted
yeah,
vest.
But just like poor girl, she just looks so miserable in those scenes.
Yeah, unfortunate. And then against Liam Neeson, who I said is like 6'4", and Natalie Portman is a small girl.
Mm-hmm.
She just looks like this little child next to him, you know, with like R2-D2 just like riding alongside. But yeah, the scenes with Jake Lloyd, you know, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I want to talk about Keira Knightley really quick.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about sort of like the dual like casting with them. I always think that's interesting.
Thank you for.
And I remember when Pirates came out, just being like, "That's Keira Knightley" in episode 1.
So I didn't realize it was Keira Knightley until like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks fantastic. I mean, they look the same essentially. Like they literally mimic each other.
I thought like. Practically, I think around the same time. Like, I thought all these years, I thought they, you know, when she's in the black dress with the feather headdress on, that's Keira the whole time. Natalie,
this one?
Yes, this.
I have the doll.
I love that.
Natalie Portman does not wear this dress for 1 minute in the movie.
It's all Keira.
Keira. And I remember sitting in the movie theater going... Because you can see, they specifically frame it so that you can see Natalie Portman over her shoulder to kind of throw us off. And so I was always like, oh, they must have just done like some split screen kind of.
They shot it twice
work.
and then they sort of matched the shots in post.
Yeah, doing some like, not Freaky
Parent
Friday.
Trap.
Parent Trap. Yeah, thank you. I was going to say not Freaky Friday. Doing some Parent Trap action on us. But like, lo and behold, it was Keira Knightley all this time. And, you know, when Keira Knightley did start coming up, like on Pirates and Love Actually and all that, I was like, she looks like a very thin British Natalie Portman. And, like, lo and behold...
That's exactly what the casting agents thought at the time.
Yeah, that casting was perfect.
Yeah. How did they find this girl?
I mean, it's probably one of those things that she probably just had her mom bring her into casting when they were doing Padme.
And they're like, that one.
And then they just sort of, like, matched these two actresses together and then just figured we can use her for the decoy.
Yeah.
My favorite moment with Natalie and Keira is when she's, like, commending R2-D2 and she's just like, Padme, go clean this droid. Do you think that she was just mad at like Padme of just like, here, Queen,
I love that.
go and clean this droid.
Yeah, that's an amazing moment. We do finally see Keira out of makeup at the very end in that last final parade like shot. She's up on the stage with them. Which I don't think I ever actually noticed.
Is that the scene that Sofia Coppola's in, too?
No. Sofia Coppola is... she's one of the handmaids when they... Keira is in the black dress.
Okay.
And they're just about to go into the hangar to break out the pilots that are kind of like captured. And they're talking to the old... guy with the long like Santa Claus beard, and it's a kind of a split screen, and you can see Keira, you can see Natalie right over her shoulder, and then in the back in like a soft focus you can see Sofia Coppola in the full, and they're wearing the like orange sherbet like into like like ombre into yellow.
What Padme goes and cleans R2-D2? What she's wearing?
Is she wearing that?
Yeah, she's wearing that.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see Sofia Coppola in that shot. And I feel like aren't like the Backstreet Boys in there somewhere? I don't know if it's this one or the next one. I feel like they threw in people like dressed up as like guards and stormtroopers and stuff.
Well, you do know that E.T.'s in Phantom Menace.
Yeah. I was joking if there's like a xenomorph little pod in that Senate scene and just the xenomorphs just like fucking everything up.
Or like Stitch or something just like back there just like just destroying all these like Senate pods.
I could see it.
And they'll like that'll be like the next special edition release. I think I may be crazy, but I thought that there was like the aliens from Alien like like the xenomorphs.
That's on IMDb trivia, but I don't know if it's true, though.
Or maybe it's a deleted scene or like a special edition thing that didn't make it in the final cut. Maybe they just did it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
We'll look that up. But
if there's a screen grab for it, I would love to see it.
I'll find it. Okay, so we got our main cast that we're talking about. We talked a little bit about fan backlash and all of that.
I mean, are you talking about Jar Jar?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, Jake Lloyd pretty much quit acting and to this day kind of talks about struggling with, mental health.
Mental health, being bullied when he went to high school, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, you want to talk about toxic fandom
and
mental health. We got to talk about
Ahmed Best.
Ahmed Best, this poor guy, going through, like, contemplating suicide, like, almost quitting his, acting career and all that for this character that...
I mean, nothing like this character had ever been done in movies before, too.
You mean a full CG motion capture character?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't hate Jar Jar. Whatever, he's there. Did you, like, as a kid, were you just like, screw that guy? Or did you think it was funny? Like, what?
Oh, definitely. No, I could not stand Jar Jar.
Yeah.
I like him now. He plays a role, right? He's important.
Yeah.
He's a contributing factor. But back then I was like, no, fuck this guy.
Is he queer coded? Maybe. Is he like a gay Jamaican resident of Naboo? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a whole other conversation, the weird, like, race baiting with this movie. But have either of you two heard the story about George Lucas introducing Ahmed Best to Michael Jackson?
I think I've listened to podcasts where Ahmed's talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess Michael Jackson was in close contact with George Lucas, and he really wanted to be a part of Phantom Menace, and he thought that...
Did George Lucas do Captain EO? Or, like, did he produce it?
Probably. Yeah, he produced it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Michael Jackson knows, like, Steven Spielberg, like, from the Goonies days and all of that. So Michael Jackson thought that he would be a great fit for Jar Jar Binks, right? And he keeps telling George Lucas, I want to be Jar Jar Binks. I want to be in the movie. Make me Jar Jar Binks.
Hey, George. I want to be Jar Jar.
Hey, George. Very good. Michael, is that you? I got the Ouija board out.
Mm-hmm.
So George Lucas says, sure, whatever. No intention of hiring him. Hires Ahmed Best. Takes Ahmed Best to a Michael Jackson concert. Takes him backstage.
I think that they were with Natalie at the time.
Probably
too.
with
Yep.
Natalie Portman at the time. Takes them all backstage to meet Michael Jackson. And he says, Michael, meet Jar Jar Binks. Without telling, like, he had never told him that it was cast.
That's kind of shady.
Never really brushed him off and said, anything about, like, not being able to audition or anything. He just says, meet Jar Jar Binks to Michael Jackson. And Michael Jackson was, like, super rude to Ahmed Best because he wanted the role. And he just kind of essentially told him right then and there, like, you're not getting it. This guy's getting it.
Could you picture Michael Jackson in the role of Jar Jar?
Oh, my God.
That would have been wild.
Misa, hee-hee.
Just like moonwalking, breakdancing all over the place. I mean, Michael Jackson as a physical performer, I don't know. Maybe the physicality could have been cool, but that voice, I don't know.
Yeah.
That would have been wild.
And they got Ahmed, I believe that he was in Stomp. He came from dance.
Yes. He came
because they wanted a very physical
from Broadway.
actor to do Jar Jar.
Yes, he came from Broadway. So, yeah, I mean, the character's weird. It's definitely annoying. When we do watch it, when we do rewatch the movie every now and then, we're just like, oh, what's going on with this dialogue, this weird pigeon...
So I remember when the novelization came out, I pretty much have only read one novelization of Star Wars, and I read the episode 1 novelization by Terry Brooks, and I remember there were various covers that you could get.
Oh,
and
okay.
I was just like, well, I'm clearly going to get the Natalie Portman cover. And it was Natalie Portman on the front and Jar Jar on the back.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just like, well, I guess I'll just also get I guess I have to get the Jar Jar one.
Sure.
Too, so, yep.
It had to be Amidala beat face, white makeup, kabuki.
My favorite Amidala look, I think, is like her opening look.
Her opening look, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
I have a tiny action figure of that. Oh, we also have. Oh, yeah, we have the fashion doll.
We have the fashion doll too. And
God.
the
Do you guys remember the Taco Bell,
Yes.
KFC, Pizza Hut cups?
Of course.
It had like the Amidala topper on it. So my mom had that, and that's like the only memory I have of living in like a childhood apartment is that Queen Amidala cup.
Love it.
Did a straw come out of the top of her head?
I believe it came out of the back of her head.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's amazing. There was some crazy merch for
Oh
this
my
movie.
God. I remember I was at my grandma's house and all of the merch was on QVC one afternoon. And just like sitting down for like an hour and a half and just watching Star Wars Episode 1 merch. It was so great.
Love it. Wow. Mm-hmm. You didn't buy any of it?
No. But I mean, I definitely had a few of the action figures, I think.
Okay.
I think I may have got the Obi-Wan one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when I...
No, go ahead.
Oh, so I was around 4 or 5 when I first saw this movie. I think Attack of the Clones is about to come out, so all the toys are out. So I can remember going to KB Toys and seeing all the Attack of the Clone toys, but no Phantom Menace toys. I don't think I picked any of those up until probably like 5 years ago.
Oh, okay. I purchased Phantom Menace toys at the time, right? And I have Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Mace Windu, right? So I bought the Sam Jackson one because I was just like, I got to get the Sam Jackson action figure. Like, it's Sam Jackson, right? Of course. Even at the time, he wasn't that big, but I was like, all right, Pulp Fiction had already been a thing, so I was like, he's cool. I'm going to get this. So I buy this Mace Windu, and I still have him, and I never took him out of the case, right? And Mace Windu doesn't do a lot in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Sits around.
Talks to Yoda,
looks at Yoda, gives Yoda side eye. Pretty much all he does. Doesn't get his lightsaber until Attack of the Clones. And we get the famous purple lightsaber, right? But the action figures came with lightsabers because they're Jedi, right? So they want you to play Star Wars and, play with these Jedi with their lightsabers. So my Mace Windu action figure has a blue lightsaber.
Oh, interesting. So it contradicts the canon.
Yes, indeed. So
I don't know how I feel about that. It's so interesting.
Is it worth anything?
How much
Not
is it
at all.
No? Oh, okay.
Like $9.
Yeah, if that. But yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting thing. Like once Attack of the Clones and all the whole big deal with this purple lightsaber came out, I was like, wait a minute. And I went and I pulled out that guy and I was like, oh, look at that blue lightsaber. How about that? I'll do a quick little Google search and see if he's worth anything. Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Where are we? What do we still need to address? We have to talk about.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Ray Park and Darth Maul? Because
yeah.
I mean, I remember him being kind of a big showcase of the ad campaign for this movie, and we always discuss was it a good idea to reveal the double-sided lightsaber in marketing? Would it have been cooler to have seen it in the theater? I was thinking about this, and I think that you kind of have to lead with it because there's so much of his scenes where you see it. And they probably just knew in marketing that we need to cut that fight scene in to the trailers and TV spots.
Yeah.
That's probably like the reasoning behind it.
But could you imagine if they didn't do that? And
it would have been so cool.
Experience with the double lightsaber is in theater.
I would have lost my mind. That would have been so rad. But yeah, I think it was kind of spoiled. Like I at the time I was like, man, this would have been awesome if they didn't show us that. But I get it. There was no way around it. And
it kind of reminds me of what they did with Kylo Ren's lightsaber when they kind of showed you that new style in the theater. I mean, in the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the hilt on it and all that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That could have been a reveal for the movie.
What did you think of Darth Maul when you first saw him in the trailer? Did you just think it was so cool?
Yeah, I thought it looked really fucking cool.
Yeah,
I was stoked.
Darth Maul just kind of, or Ray Park also just kind of had a moment in the late 90s. He was a stunt actor that they got to do this role. And then a few months later, after the release of Phantom Menace, he was the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow.
Yep. And then you got X-Men right after that.
Yeah, he's Toad, right?
Halle Berry kills him.
What happens when a frog gets struck by lightning?
Yeah, same thing that happens to everything else.
Yep.
I love that line, though.
And, well, he's kind of in makeup in that, too. So you never really see, like, what Ray Park actually
I just found his social media, and he is very handsome.
Oh,
still.
no, he's a great-looking guy. But, I mean, 20 years later... But yeah,
I wish that they would have kept Ray Park's actual voice because he has this very strong London accent.
He's got like a David Beckham kind of a voice.
I'm Ray Park.
I'm Ray Park. Or it's very like kind of not high pitched, but you know, it's definitely not as menacing as the voice that they.
Now, did they cut dialogue that is in the trailer that is not in the movie with Darth Maul?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think that there's moments in the trailer where you see him speak a little more.
Possibly.
Yeah, he doesn't speak very much at all.
Or like a line of dialogue that they cut from the movie.
Something about getting a revenge. I think that's in the movie, though. Yeah, Darth Maul is a really cool character. And I feel like, to me, you know, all the lightsaber action that we had seen in the first 3 Star Wars movies was Luke and Vader. And they were cool fights, but they're a little slow. Every now and then, Luke would do a little spin or do a little jump. But, you know, this came around and it was just like...
It's like a properly photographed and showcased action scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I picture the marketing and it's, you know, they're like, well, this isn't your grandma's lightsaber battle.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I feel like, I think people were saying that, like radio ads and stuff. But, you know, I think it was so big and so energetic and it was at the end of the movie that's kind of why walking out, I, in particular, was just like, yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Oh, it's the best scene of the entire movie, hands down.
Yeah. Just because, it ended on this note that you're just like, wow, that was amazing. And then afterwards, you get to go back and think about it and really break it down and start poking holes in it. But it's a great scene. Well, you know, it is not the best scene in the entire movie.
Are you gonna say the pod racing scene? Sure. I was gonna say, yeah, that pod racing scene. When I revisit it now, I just find it a little. I think that we usually just skip it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I skipped it today. It's 10 minutes long, first of all,
long.
and it's extended. So from the theatrical release to the DVD release, it got extended.
Yeah, they added more. They added more to it.
And all I can hear is the sound of those engines.
Sebulba's engine is like so loud, and it's like it. You know, it sounds great. You know, we got like the sound bar going on, and like when you have the sound effects and everything, it sounds good. You know, but it's a little, it's a little arduous to sit through all of it.
Yeah,
just I feel like the overall tone of the movie has a lot of ups and downs, but. Overall, like the action stuff is really well done, well executed. I don't think that scene needs the additional footage of these weird like CG aliens just bowing to the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do we need that?
One looks like
why do they all need an introduction?
Yeah, no. One looks like he's like a villain on Rainbow Bright or something.
Yeah,
Not Rainbow Bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the shaved, like, Rainbow Bright bad guy. Yeah. Oh, but there's some cool shit in there, too, because we get Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
We get Jabba the Hutt, and we get... there's a lady Jabba the Hutt in the background.
I was thinking about that. I was looking at it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a lady.
Like, how do we...
I don't want to assume, though.
Why do we think it's a female... Hutt?
Does she have like eyeshadow and eyelashes or something?
She had like more breasts.
Yeah,
I don't want to say it, but she had more breasts.
I think she had a little. I mean, Jabba's got some too, but hers were a little bit more voluptuous, and I think her face was a little bit more feminine. If we could even say that about a slug. But Jabba also has like a sexy slave lady wearing Leia's slave gold bikini.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved that. I loved seeing that. I'm picturing him having that like forever and just getting it dry cleaned every time one of the slaves dies.
He just loves this outfit. He just thinks it's super cute, and he's just like
he got it at Fascinations. Yeah. They don't make that model anymore. It's vintage.
It's discontinued. Absolutely.
Now, weren't you saying once that there's a gay Jabba the Hutt, or like his cousin or something?
His like uncle or something, right?
Yes, Zero the Hutt.
And he speaks with like a Truman Capote accent. I love that.
He does.
It's so weird.
Do you remember when we were at Stan Lee's Kamikaze and Shoes? Kelly, they were giving an award to like Elvira or something.
Yeah.
And they were just riffing because she was late walking up, and they were just randomly talking about episode 1.
Yeah.
And Jar Jar and Jabba the Hutt.
And I had a whole conversation
and you fully
with Kelly.
chimed in with Kelly about gay Jabba the Hutt. I'll never forget that.
Are you familiar with that internet, like that YouTube song Shoes? Let's get some
Yeah,
shoes.
of course.
Yeah,
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly. So it was Kelly there at Stanley's Kamikaze, and we were just talking about Zero the Hutt. But I feel like, and stick with me here, the Hutts are this like giant space slug. So they're probably asexual. I don't know.
Gender fluid.
Gender fluid, yes.
They probably kind of like how do slugs and worms kind of like procreate?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but there's a lot of cool Easter eggs in that scene. Not the least of which is Warwick Davis.
Yeah, there's a little shot of Warwick.
We got we got Warwick Davis, Wicket the Ewok in there out of costume, unmasked.
I think that I read on IMDb that Warwick is also one of Anakin's friends.
Yeah, I read that too.
That he's
like the little Greedo guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or not, well, Greedo is a... I'm going to think of the kind of alien Greedo is without looking it up.
I'm going to look it up in case you don't remember.
Because I feel like I might not get it. But he's that kind of... that's him in the costume.
I remember all the fan theories that Boba Fett might be one of Anakin's friends at the time.
Oh, boy. That's grasping at straws right there. That's grasping at straws. Greedo aliens are called... Shit, I'm not going to remember. I'm out.
Rhodians.
Yes. I knew that.
Of course.
I knew that. But, so there's some cool Easter eggs in that scene in particular.
Yeah, the Boba Fett cameo is a reach for sure.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, a reach. Absolutely. The story that we do get for Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones, I feel like at first I was a little iffy about, but now with everything with, Clone Wars and now the Bad Batch and all of that, I'm kind of into the whole clone situation and Boba Fett being like a untampered with clone of Jango Fett and all that. I'm kind of into it. So, yeah. So the pod race is weird. It's a little laborious to get through. So we skip through it. So if you skip through it at home, listeners, it's okay. We
do it too.
We're right there with you. We do it too. What were some of the things that we definitely noticed that stuck out to us on this viewing? I noticed Padme's like French tip manicure.
Yeah. Those beautiful nails.
And her the very first shot of her on like that view screen, that like circular view screen, she's like sitting in the chair and she's like all tragic and just like doing the voice, like her crazy Amidala voice,
her sad monotone Amidala voice.
And her hand, you can see her hands, and she's got like this like French tip manicure.
I had a few things that popped in my head. I mean, we were trying to clock that lace front on Liam Neeson.
Qui-Gon.
We were looking at
that wig.
Qui-Gon's wig. Very fascinated with it.
It's a good wig.
It's a good wig. It looks like it's grown out of his head.
I can see wig.
Speaking of bad wigs, you can tell that there are certain scenes with Ewan that they had to bring him back in after principal photography because he is clearly wearing a wig.
Yeah.
There was an exchange with him and
Jar Jar, right?
And Qui-Gon, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
That you can tell that, this was like a pickup. What else? Oh, Amidala in her in her big black headdress outfit just didn't change at all in the ship.
She wears it for like 3 days, like a week or something. How long are they on Tatooine?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. But what I really want to know is who's lugging around her wardrobe?
Yeah.
They specifically call out that the ship is carrying her wardrobe, so she's got like these. I imagine these like Louis Vuitton trunks.
I mean, that's like a gag in Spaceballs.
Kathy Bates in the Titanic,
Yes.
like her in the big trunks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm picturing that.
Yeah.
Not without her matching luggage.
Very unsinkable Molly Brown, the Louis Vuitton, like, yeah, those big steamer trunks that like open up sideways and have like hanging clothes in them.
I mean, that's what's so great about Spaceballs is that was a visual gag in that movie.
Yeah.
Where John Candy is just like, Her Royal Highness's matched luggage.
It's Her Royal Highness's matched luggage! What? Her Royal Highness's matched luggage!
Oh, matched luggage, huh? What she think this is, a princess cruise?
Well, she wouldn't go without it.
And they're carrying it through the desert and they leave it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, they have to find Anakin. They get trapped in the sandstorm. They do the pod race. They like all this crazy crap, leaving Obi-Wan Kenobi, who has to wait in the car the entire time.
Wait in the car.
You
can't come.
He does not get to come on their adventure, on their field trip. He just has to like stay home and like work on the car, And finally, when they do get back on the ship, go to Coruscant, get off, she's still wearing this damn black dress that she left Naboo wearing.
Yeah. It has to smell, probably.
The timeline is muddled at best. But so those are some of the gems that jumped out to us on this last watch. Is there anything that you kind of like that kind of jump out at you when you watch it, or things that you didn't notice before?
Well, the biggest thing is that the whole movie could have ended if Watto just would have took the Republic credits, right? That's the biggest thing I first thought of. This movie would have been over. Anakin doesn't exist, no Darth Vader, nothing like that. Watto takes Republic credits.
I have an Armenian coworker that always clocks Watto as the angry Armenian man works in a junkyard.
He's claiming Watto as Armenian?
He's claiming Watto is Armenian.
All right.
Yep.
No, but a scene that jumped out to me was the first introduction of R2. So all those droids are going out to repair the ship, and they're all panicking and dying. And R2 goes out there, again, panicking, but he happens to be the one that fixes the ship.
Yeah,
it's a cute scene, though.
It's cute, but it's one of those things where, like you said, if R2 got blown up right then and there, it's like we wouldn't have everything else as we know. There was something that happened that you said when we were watching it, and you're like, what if this happened? And I was like, well, if that happened, then written and directed by George Lucas, credits, movie ends.
Oh, I think that it was...
was it Darth Maul, like, killing Anakin in the desert?
No, I think it was either that or the clone armies just killing all of them.
Yeah, well, there's
when they walk in,
there's no clones in this.
Oh, yeah, they're not.
The droid army.
The droid army. Excuse me. I always think of when you see C-3PO being built in Anakin's cute little house. I think Anakin. I mean, this is kind of a cute place. I mean, for being slaves, they look like they're doing pretty well for themselves. They have like
this nice apartment.
They have like a nice little apartment. There's a little kitchen set. So clearly,
they're building a droid.
It's like clearly. I mean, they might be slaves, but like, I mean, I think that they're doing okay.
Watto's giving them a good life.
But I always see like C-3PO being built, and I always think. I'm trying to think of in the series if you see C-3PO and Darth Vader in any scenes together. That I just want to see like a Robot Chicken sketch, a Darth Vader just being like, hey, I built one of those in my mom's house when I was a kid.
I don't know that they actually share any screen time in any of the other movies.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
I like to think that if Darth Vader just randomly saw him in passing, he'd just be like, well, how do you like that? Well, I left that droid in my mom's apartment.
Well, it reminds you of that scene in Devil Wears Prada where Miranda gets out of the car and sees Andy across the street and kind of just like looks at her, then looks away and smiles.
Yeah. I also like to think though that droids in the Star Wars universe are kind of like
it's like an iPhone.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be able to tell one from the other. Like you
Sure.
would see like a C-3PO model like kind of all over the place.
C-3PO is like an iPhone 8.
Well, that's why we see TC-14 at the very beginning of this very movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's silver and it's got a female voice to kind of illustrate that point of like there's these droids everywhere. Yeah.
So what do we think about Shmi Skywalker and the Immaculate Conception?
Oh my God.
That's one of those scenes too that like I just want to see Liam Neeson just being like,
say what now?
Wait, what? He doesn't have a dad.
Yeah, I
yeah, it's a lot.
There are fan theories of like Palpatine like using like manipulating the midichlorians to like.
Oh my God, the midichlorians.
Yeah,
what did you think?
midichlorians.
What did you think of that when you first saw it?
I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Also, kind of the first and last time that they're really brought up is in this.
Was it kind of George Lucas trying to plant this, like, we're going to go back to this later? And they never did.
Yeah.
The same thing with Jar Jar. I know he had a bigger plan for Jar Jar in the rest of the sequel or the rest of the trilogy. But again, once that backlash came with Jar Jar, he's like, no, we're going to drop it and kind of just keep him as a background character.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of like, I don't know if that's the consensus, but yeah, just Palpatine and manipulation of midichlorians to kind of like create Anakin.
Yeah, that's my theory as well.
Yeah.
Like that's the one I follow. It kind of makes the most sense, right? Thinking about Palpatine and how manipulative he was and how he was always ahead of everybody else in terms of like planning. So I could definitely see him finding this woman and manipulating the midichlorians inside of her to create like, his heir, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So, it kind of Scott's just like, no.
Oh, you're not buying it, Scott, huh?
I don't know.
This is like,
because it's like a Christ allegory too.
Also,
which kind of confuses me.
Yeah.
Do you even think even George Lucas even put all that much thought into it? Probably not.
Well, let us live in our little bubble. Okay?
Yeah.
Palpatine, it makes sense, and we're going with that.
Speaking of Palpatine and the title, The Phantom Menace, do you know how long it took me to figure out, or I think that Pete had to explain to me who the Phantom Menace was? Who do you think the Phantom Menace is?
Darth Maul.
It's Darth Sidious.
And I thought it was, and I just assumed that it was Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader.
Really?
But I assumed it was Anakin was the Phantom Menace.
Because, he's the Phantom Menace.
Well, I think it's Darth Sidious because we only really see him, Darth Sidious, talking to the Trade Federation, right? The Neimoidians have this relationship with him, but the Jedi don't even know that the Sith like exists. So granted, using that logic, it could still be Darth Maul. But Darth Sidious is the one that's kind of like pulling all the strings.
He's the puppet master.
So he's this menace, to the Jedi Order and to the greater good or whatever. But that's always how I interpreted it. But I think I read that in I think that might even be in the Vanity Fair article.
Okay, so I just remember the teaser poster for this movie, which I think I had this poster hanging up in my room.
Uh-huh.
It was that shot of Anakin walking by one of the little houses on Tatooine, and his shadow was Darth Vader.
Yes.
So I think I just sort of put both of those together, and I just assumed that Anakin was the Phantom Menace. I don't know.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's good, though. I like it. Who's to say? I feel like, when you go to something like The Lord of the Rings...
And also kind of the Two Towers. It was not very, direct in the book what exactly the Two Towers were.
That's
too.
Exactly where I was going to go with this. So I think, the author there, and I think George Lucas here is I don't know, if you ask George Lucas right now, who is the Phantom Menace, he might just say, I don't know, who do you think it is?
Sure.
And I'm cool with that, because I had never thought of your interpretation, Scott. Mm-hmm. So I like that. So it could be either.
Mm-hmm.
Either of the three that we all said. I love that all three of us had a different person.
I know. I was 100% about to think that we were all about to say Darth Maul, so I'm glad we all had different interpretations of the title.
Yeah, definitely. That's funny. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff from this that we can take away with each viewing. And you said you first watched it on VHS when it was first shown to you. So we have a VHS that this isn't my original purchase, but it's a special edition. It was the first release on VHS, but it was a special edition of it, and it came with a bunch of like extra stuff.
I think that we got the one in our closet from Amoeba Records.
We did. We got it from Amoeba.
Yeah.
I got mine at Suncoast Movies and Gifts at the mall. But the tape, it starts off with a maybe 15 to 20 minute like behind the scenes, like making of Phantom Menace. And I used to watch it all the time, and it's actually on YouTube. You can just
we watched it last night.
We watched it last night.
Yep.
If you like go on YouTube and just put in like opening of like Phantom
we'll post
Menace
a link to it.
VHS, you can watch this. And one of the producers of Phantom Menace and all the prequel movies, Rick McCallum, is like this crazy like Hollywood producer guy, and he's got this like crazy hair. He looks like the Ancient Aliens guy. Like he's got his hair like sticks straight up, and he's just like this Hollywood producer, and he's like just super into it, you know. And he's just like, the movie's just so dense. Like there's something in every scene.
Something going on in every frame of the movie.
If you pause the movie, just pause it, and there's just something in every frame. And like I just remember at the time just thinking, oh my god,
okay, calm down,
Rick
girl.
McCallum, to take it down a notch. But I mean, he's kind of right. There's a lot going on in this movie. And
this movie is packed.
Yeah.
So you always mentioned to me that the only shot that doesn't have any computer effects in it is that shot of
There's a vent with smoke coming out.
The vent with smoke coming out of it. Do you think that's true?
That's what they say. Well, I don't think it's necessarily CG, but I think it's just any effects, because some of them will just have like a blue screen.
Like a random
of
cutaway.
Like space or whatever.
Of a vent.
Yeah, but it's just a random cutaway of a vent with the gas coming out of it, and supposedly that's the only shot that's 100% in camera.
Interesting.
Yeah, because there's just so much crap that's been added to it. So
going to the home video release, do you remember how long it took for this to come out on DVD? Took years.
Oh. Did it? See that? So that I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember when the DVD came out, it was a huge deal, because I think that it was around the time that Attack of the Clones was coming out on video.
Yeah. It was. It didn't come out until Attack of the Clones.
2002 or so.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, DVDs were still kind of very new at that point, so not everything had a DVD release, and that holiday season when it did come out on home video, it was VHS only, but most movies were still at that time. So, yeah.
I think that I looked it up and it came out April of 2000.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
But yeah, it did take a minute for it to come out on DVD. But I snapped it up right away. I have it. I still have my DVDs. And we actually don't have the 4K release of this.
We do not. We don't have any of the prequels in 4K.
Yeah, but
we have the original trilogy in 4K.
Else. And they look beautiful. If you're like movie people and you got a nice TV and all that, 4K transfer is amazing. But what are your thoughts on the rest of the prequel series? Do you have a favorite of the three? Is it this one?
So my favorite is Revenge of the Sith, only because you get to see that transformation from Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader.
Yeah.
You get General Grievous, right? I mean,
General Grievous is badass.
Amazing villains, if you ask me.
He's a robot and he coughs. I love that. He has like an immune system, so he's like half human person. I don't know.
Yeah, half like cyborgish. I don't know.
He's got all those guts in his chest.
Yeah, he's a cool character.
Yeah, I definitely love that. I remember having the toy where if you like hit the toy in a specific spot, it exploded. So I mean, it was kind of perfect, you know.
We have the Lego of that character.
I do. I have a giant Lego of
we have Grievous and
I love that.
Obi-Wan battling.
Yeah.
So Revenge of the Sith, number one. Attack of the Clones is my second favorite. Jango Fett's one of my favorite characters. Boba Fett's number one, of course, but and this one's number three. I mean, it's still up there, right? Like I put Phantom Menace way above, Rise of Skywalker, The Last Jedi, and all those movies. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's really cool. Yeah, there's some really great characters in the prequel series. So would you said Boba Fett's your favorite character in the Star Wars
Oh yeah, he's my favorite. Absolutely. What about you guys?
Character-wise, movie-wise, what do you think, Scott? Do you have a favorite character?
Do I have a favorite character? I think that it's a toss-up between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Princess Leia as just sort of my favorite Star Wars characters in general. As far as the prequel movies, I think Phantom Menace is my favorite of the prequels.
Love it.
I think it's the one that I like to rewatch the most. And I think that it kind of has the most nostalgia for me because I was sort of the target audience when it came out. I was 13, like the exact kind of kid that they were going for in marketing, and it totally worked. I think that I've really come around to both Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. That I don't think I really cared for them at the time they were coming out, but I think that they revisit really well, and I have fun with them. And when we sat down and watched a few months ago Revenge of the Sith, like, I had a great time watching it.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I think that one's pretty good. I like the last scene with Anakin and Obi-Wan. That's really good. Very powerful moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
On Mustafar.
Mm-hmm.
That is a really great scene. And Ewan McGregor plays it really well.
The one thing I don't like about Revenge of the Sith is I think that they kind of do Natalie Portman kind of dirty in that movie. That she has
I was just thinking
nothing to do in that movie but to kind of be in her penthouse apartment and wear
like rub her belly.
Extravagant nightgowns with pearls in them.
I mean, if Amidala is known for anything, it's the gowns.
Yeah, I mean, especially at a time where, like, Natalie Portman was really coming into her own as an actress, that she had just been Oscar nominated for Closer, that I just kind of thought she would have a bigger role in it.
Yeah.
That they kind of wrote her. I mean, she's given something to do in Attack of the Clones, at least, that she has, like,
She got action sequences.
She has the big action sequence in that movie. She has the really fierce, like, crop top in that movie too that I always really liked.
Which the crop top makes no sense at all. Every time I watch it,
I think it's super fierce.
I'm like, no, that's not logical. There's no way that you get a crop top from that slash.
She's got like tearaways.
That big crazy tiger cut that dress in half. That blouse.
But yeah, kind of disappointing of what they give her in Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Yeah, they make her paranoid and pregnant. So.
Yeah. I do like all the memes about how if the baby's Obi-Wan's, but those are kind of fun. I feel like Obi-Wan might be my favorite character.
Yeah.
Out of all of it, I love especially his look in Revenge of the Sith. It's my favorite era for him.
Oh yeah, he's
that
he has
great.
like the beard.
Yeah.
That he's really coming into like being like a scruffy older man. I'm into it.
Yeah, love it. I also really love Rogue One.
Rogue One's great.
I think
it's fantastic.
Yeah, I really love that movie.
I'll never forget sitting in the theater for Rogue One, and it was the scenes leading up to the big reveal. So I remember sitting in the theater and just the lead up to that reveal of Tarkin and just looking around at people whispering to each other, I think it's going to be Tarkin. I think it's going to be Tarkin. And then like that big reveal of him, and just the audience just audibly gasped.
Yeah.
At that.
Yeah, I was gagged. I thought it was super successful. I think the CGI model of Peter Cushing is great. I think it looks amazing, and I mean that movie really showed how scary Darth Vader as a character.
Yeah, you got to see some scary Darth Vader scenes.
Get out of here.
Yeah, some really good action with him.
Yeah.
I loved it, honestly. I love that it led right into A New Hope. It's kind of perfect.
Cool. So cool. I just the whole final act of that movie, and in particular those last scenes where it just goes right onto Leia's ship, is just like, holy fuck. I knew it was going to lead into New Hope, but not that tightly, and it was so great.
Good movie.
Yeah, definitely good movie. I think of the prequels, I like your order, Nick. I think Revenge of the Sith is probably my favorite because it has so much going on with the characters and leading into the next trilogy. I think maybe I might put Phantom Menace second. But this movie, it's at this point it's become that thing where it's a comforting movie. I've seen it so many times, I know it so well that it's something that like I can just kind of put on if I'm not really even gonna like pay that much attention to it, but just maybe have a movie on, and like clean the house or just fart around on my iPad or whatever. But I know these characters so well, and
I appreciate that it's kind of the campiest movie.
Oh, it definitely
of these
is the campiest
of these two, which kind of like relating to our show.
Yeah,
just
for sure.
like the camp extravaganza of everything that Natalie Portman is wearing.
Yeah.
It's just great. That's why I love to revisit it.
Her line delivery is amazing. Showing up at the Senate just like this little kid, elected leader showing up at the Senate, like delivering these lines is iconic. So yeah, amazing. There's a lot going on in Star Wars. We barely scratched the surface of it, but this movie, I mean, it contributed a lot to all of our like love for movies in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, easy.
I kind of like that it's so divisive with people too. That people have very strong feelings about it.
Yeah, you either love it or you hate it. I mean, there really isn't an in-between for this one.
Yeah, but I think also, too, with the sequels now being so divisive that it kind of... We're back in this place where of loving the prequels again, Again, with the meme accounts and, people your age, Nick, that kind of grew up with the prequels as just kind of being a part of the Star Wars that that generation just kind of re-embracing it and kind of taking it as their own. And now we're all turning against the sequels, and those are kind of being the ones that we're like, these are kind of weird. So
yeah, like I mentioned before, that George Lucas really tried with these movies that he was trying to do something new and different with each one. Everything may not be perfect about them, but that's kind of why you love them.
Yeah. But at least we tried something different.
Yeah.
At least it's not just a complete rehash.
He's not rehashing characters and old storylines.
Yeah. Visually, they're different. Storyline, all that stuff. And so it contributes to the three movies in the prequel trilogy just kind of having their own space in the Star Wars universe. And now really just being a huge part of Disney and the Star Wars, theme park situation. All that stuff is so great and so much fun. It's just a huge part of like culture, really.
Yeah. I have in my notes, camp spectacular. It's colorful and not as dark as the other movies, and it's a movie that wants its audience to have fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that we left out, Nick? Anything that you wanted to bring up that we didn't get around to talking about?
I think of that scene when Padme, what's the word I'm looking for? She's going up to the king of what's the species of Jar Jar Binks? The Gungans.
The Gungans, yeah.
Yeah, she's going up to the king, and it's Queen Amidala, who you think it's Queen Amidala speaking, and then out of nowhere, Padme just comes out of the sides like, "No, I'm actually Queen Amidala.
Yeah, she's got
I'm sorry to have deceived you, but we need your help." I was like, "Oh, that was a great scene."
Yeah, yeah, stunt queen.
She's got stunts. Yep. Mm-hmm.
No,
and then of course for the next movie, for Keira Knightley to just die on the deck, or her ship gets blown
right. That's like, I always forget about that. And I'm always shocked whenever it happens in Attack of the Clones.
Well, it's her.
Oh, no, me too.
It's her decoy. It's not actually Kira, though, is it? I don't think it's actually Kira.
I don't know.
But I'm assuming it's the same character because it's her decoy.
Sure.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's a tragic end to this character that we love. Yeah, I mean, yeah, all the Padme stuff is amazing. We love it. Mm-hmm. We love it. We stand a stunt queen.
I mean, also Natalie Portman, I think that people kind of forget about Natalie Portman's style of acting, that Natalie Portman, especially when you look at her work from the last 10 years, is not a subtle actress. Like, she makes very bold choices in a lot of her movies, from like Black Swan to Vox Lux, Jackie. It's just like she kind of has this weird range that she's really... I mean, she's obviously given credit for because she has Academy Award nominations, but people kind of underestimate her sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. We'll always have Padme.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's probably just about time to wrap things up. But Nick, thank you so much for coming on the show.
This was so much fun to talk about.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm a huge fan of the show.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you guys are great.
Yeah, so thank you so much. This has been awesome. We'd love to have you on again in the future. So we'll definitely keep in touch for something moving forward. But
definitely. Hopefully, another Star Wars.
Hey, maybe we might be able to fit something else in. But until then, we will bid you adieu. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
You're
Bye.
welcome. See you soon. Bye. And thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Fun episode.
Star Wars.
I mean,
we're huge fans. Obviously.
Huge fans. We have so much Star Wars crap in our apartment. I was thinking about, we bought the Millennium Falcon with wedding money. Do you remember that?
We bought a Lego Millennium Falcon with wedding money. We sure did. That was a good purchase.
And also, we have your friend Matt's wedding gift, which is a big Star Wars framed art that we always look at whenever we watch TV. That was a wedding gift.
Matt and Kristen Earhart, my dear, dear, dear friends. Matt, love you, buddy. Miss you so much. They got us this amazing framed Star Wars poster. It is a limited edition.
Do you remember how heavy that was to put up?
We
had to call over a friend to help us out.
I was like, we need a stud finder. We need this to go in the wall, because if I put it up, it is going to break our house down. But yeah, we've got, I always forget. I look at that thing every day.
We're going to post more stuff on Patreon. There's a video right now up of some of our Star Wars stuff. We're going to do another one.
Yes.
I think that we're going to have kind of a proper, showcase of all of our Star Wars haul that we've collected through the years.
Yeah, so head over to the Patreon for that. I talked a little bit about my Mace Windu action figure with the blue lightsaber, and is it worth anything? Well, it's on eBay right now for a whopping $8.99. Brand new mint in box. So
hold on to it for a few more years. Maybe the value will go up.
So who came out on top with that purchase? This guy right here. So yeah. But speaking of Patreon, I think it's that time.
Patreon shout-outs.
Yes, indeed. It is that time for some Patreon shout-outs. We want to say hey, hello, and thank you to all of our wonderful patrons, including but not limited to Susan, Barry, JJ, Brandon, Leighton, Shelby, Merle, Michael, Charlie, Heather, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Jimmy, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Emily, Melly, Aaron, Melinda, and Jim, Jessica, Nick, and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
For being
it means
patrons.
A lot.
It does. It means so much. Head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay, and you can check out our tiers.
You can check out our tiers. It's the end of the month, so we always get to our newsletter. We've been thinking about stuff to put in.
We're
this
writing
month's
it now.
Newsletter. It's going to be fun. Also, kind of a little podcast episode lineup to kind of preview what's coming on in September. We are going to Disney World.
Yes,
the
we
two
are.
of us. So I decided that we're going to have 2 weeks in a row of animated Disney movies.
Sweet.
Because everyone kind of really responded to us doing Robin Hood.
Yes,
and
you
had
guys.
A lot of,
that was so cool. That the Robin Hood posts on Instagram got a lot of love, and the Robin Hood episode got a lot of downloads. You guys really loved that episode.
When I put on the question in our stories, what do you think we're going to do? We got a lot of different responses.
We did,
just sort of movies that I hadn't really thought about doing that we're doing now in September. So stay tuned. We have 2 really good classics.
Yes, indeed. So that will be really, really fun.
And 2 really good guests too. They're returning.
Oh, fun!
Yeah.
Fun. Awesome. So keep an eye out for that. So just check out your new episodes for that. And until then, we would love it if you would rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, we'd love to read on the air.
Yes, indeed. If you write us a review, we'll read it on the show. We've been doing that lately. And give us 5 stars while you're there.
Give us 5 stars.
Yes, indeed.
Smash those stars to the right.
If you don't listen on Apple Podcasts, then hit subscribe on Spotify or Stitcher or wherever you listen to us. Hit subscribe, because it will alert you when the new episodes post, and it also just helps out us with visibility in the long run. So thank you very much for doing that. You can find us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook at Movies That Made Us Gay.
And Twitter at NTMUGPod.
Yes, indeed. You can find me. My name's Pete. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Peter Lasagna.
I'm Oscar Scott on Twitter, Scott Youngbauer on Instagram, and just Scott Youngbauer on Letterboxd. See what I'm watching.
Yes, indeed. So just like always, feel free to hit us up anytime if you have any questions, comments. You can always reach out on all the socials. Leave us comments or questions on Instagram. We are active there the most. You can also email us at moviesthatmadeusgay@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments, or you just want to shoot us an email about anything. Just we'd love to hear from you. So you can go ahead and do it there as well on Gmail. But until then, we will see you next week. Thanks for listening, everybody.
We'll see you next week with another movie from 1999.
Yes,
this was not
indeed.
planned. It just sort of came out like that.
It's a great year for movies.
The 10th movie from 1999 next week.
That's awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.